Terastalization might be one of the most interesting mechanics ever introduced to the Pokemon franchise. The ability to change your Pokemon's typing on the fly to gain a tactical advantage both offensively and defensively makes competitive battling more engaging. The only issue I have with it is what I consider to be its poor implementation throughout the main story of the game. The gimmick is only used by members of the League or those at the Academy, and not one of them uses it to its full advantage. In our earliest encounters with Terastalization, whilst doing the gym challenge, the gym leaders decide to take seemingly random Pokemon and alter their typing to match that of their gyms. In one sense, it does demonstrate the mechanic to the player, showing that it can alter a Pokemon's typing, but unfortunately leaves me wanting in terms of a challenge, as it means that the one or two Pokemon you brought to deal with the gym only continue to be super effective against their ace. The later use of Terastalization from your rival or the Elite Four or those in the Ace tournament are more forgivable because they at least boost the damage output of their stab moves. But what about the gym leaders? What if they use Terastalization in a better way? What if instead of Terastalizing their Ace Pokemon into their gym's typing, they instead Terastalized out of it, into a typing that counters the Pokemon you specifically brought to handle the gym? There's a few rules I set myself whilst coming up with this list. Number 1, the gym leader's new ace can't be the same as any other character's ace from previous games. Number 2, the Pokemon has to have a stab move for its Terra typing. Number 3, no two gyms can share the same Terra type. Number 4, the Terra type can't match either of the Pokemon's usual typing. That's reserved for the Elite Four. Number 5, the Pokemon has to be available in Paldea. Number 6, all of the moves I give to a Pokemon, as well as its evolutionary stage, have to be available for that Pokemon at the level of the gym leader's original ace. None of this Lance's Dragonite nonsense. And number 7, the Pokemon have to represent the gym leader in some way. So with that all out the way, let's start the rundown. Katie was the easiest gym leader for me to settle on a Pokemon for, due to her having the olive role as a gym challenge. It's stated to be part of a festival that takes place in the town and brings good luck to the harvest, but honestly, it seemed really disconnected from Katie herself. She's a baker and a bug type specialist, so how does rolling an olive make sense as her gym test? Unless, of course, she happened to be a fan of Rellor. This weird little dude in a dung beetle costume is one of the oddest new Pokemon we got in Generation 9, and I don't think it gets anywhere near enough representation, so making it Katie's ace makes way too much sense to me. Plus, name another Pokemon that loves rolling as much as Rellor. For its Terra typing, I'd give it the Rock type to counter those fire and flying Pokemon, whilst resisting any rock Pokemon you brought to take on this gym. Then, Rellor does what it does best. Rolls. Rolling. Like, seriously, it would use the move Rollout. It's kind of it. Contrary to Katie, Brassius was the hardest gym leader for me to come up with a new ace for. Mostly down to grass-type Pokemon having such limited coverage. I'd have loved to have a Fire-type Sunflora to go with his gym challenge, but unfortunately, the only Fire-type move Sunflora learns is Sunny Day, which isn't going to be all that helpful. After literal hours of searching, I landed on the idea of a Tropius with the ground Terra typing. Tropius is another single-stage Pokemon like Sudowoodo, and also suffers from a lack of representation amongst key characters in the mainline games, with Winona only possessing one in Emerald. As for Brassius, I could see him throwing this Pokemon out and saying to you something like, "Artists naturally live with their heads in the clouds, but they need to remember to stay grounded to reach the hearts of their audience." It's far from perfect, much like utilizing the ground Terra typing. Ideally, I'd have used the rock typing, but I couldn't find any grass-type Pokemon in Paldea with a reasonably powered rock-type move. So yeah, ground-type Tropius that uses Bulldoze to lower your Pokemon's speed. Look, I tried, okay? Grass types were hard. Okay, back to the easier ones. There was only one Pokemon I could give to Iono, and that's Pawmo. Now, I can already hear you in the comments saying that's Nemona's ace, but in actuality, Nemona's ace Pokemon is the starter that is weak to yours. It's always her highest level Pokemon, and the Pokemon she uses for terastalization, which at least is how I'm defining Ace Pokemon when it comes to Paldea. So, Pawmot is fair game. Besides, look at those puffy arms. These two were made for each other. I think giving it the Grass Terra type would allow Iono to say that she's going to let her Pokemon grow, just like her subscriber count. Get it? Because plants grow? Plants, grass type. It uses Seed Bomb and deals with your ground type. Let's move on. Kofu is a chef specializing in seafood, so it only makes sense that his ace would represent that theme. I've just realized. Kofu is a seafood chef. Is his team just made up of Pokemon he bought for the restaurant that didn't end up on the chopping block? One of his prominent members is a Pokemon that fillets itself. Oh no. Okay, existential crisis about the consumption of Pokemon over. I think the perfect new Pokemon to add to Kofu's team would be Whiscash. Something about these two just seems to fit. Either way, despite Whiscash already having amazing typing, I would give it the Ice Terra type, so it can utilize the move Ice Beam to handle your pesky grass types. Ironically, it means the previously non-effective electric type moves from your Pokemon will now land, but you would still be foolish to keep those electric types in on a Whiscash with Earth Power. I imagine Kofu terastalizing his Pokemon and saying, "You won't find any frozen fish in my restaurant, but they certainly help in battle." What was that accent? What? Why did I give him that accent? Now for everyone's favorite gym leader, / Elite Four member, / overworked businessman. I was really torn when it came to Larry. I desperately wanted to let him keep his Staraptor. I'd even want him to terastalize it into the flying type just to hit your fighting types that much harder. But because of the rules I set myself, I can't do that. Instead, I ended up giving him a Pokemon I initially intended for Brassius until I realized it evolved too late for him to be allowed it. So instead, I get to give Sawsbuck to Larry. Naturally, in its winter form to match Larry's cold exterior, yet utilizing the move Zen Headbutt to go with its Psychic Terra type, that'll help it to take out your fighting types. With this Pokemon, Larry is making a statement. Though I may seem cold, my mental fortitude ensures I'm always able to get the job done. What a hero. Okay, you're gonna have to go with me on this one. Ryme is a rapper, right? And when rappers have catchy lyrics, they get stuck in your head. A song that gets stuck in your head is commonly referred to as an earworm. Worms are bugs. Bug type. Bug Terra type Ceruledge. Look, it's easily one of, if not the coolest ghost type ever introduced to Pokemon. And neither it nor its counterpart Armarouge is utilized by a significant trainer throughout the game. So I had to give it to Ryme here. Plus, it learns X-Scissor for its new stab move and allows Ryme to say that when she puts all her emotions into her lyrics, they can cut you deep. Mic drop. Tulip was difficult to decide on a Terra type for, simply given the fact that none of the typings you would bring to deal with her gym share a weakness. I eventually landed on the solution of just making sure the Terra type was at least super effective against one of either Bug, Dark, or Ghost, and then giving the Pokemon coverage with the rest of its moveset to deal with the others. So, my pick for Tulip is a Bronzong, with the Fighting Terra type. Bronzong, of course, evolves from Bronzor, a Pokemon said to have originally been a mirror, something no good makeup artist like Tulip would ever be caught without. The Fighting type realistically had to be the Terra type I used for Tulip, considering the friendship she shares with Dendra. I can only imagine, much in the same way as Dendra takes part in the ESP training, Tulip spends her weekends working out with Dendra to keep her model figure. To complement this Terra typing, I'd give Bronzong the move Body Press, which, if you didn't know, uses its massive physical defense stat for damage calculations, which then allows us to build a more special Bronzong, meaning we can get the most out of Shadow Ball for those Ghost-type matchups. Then finally, we have Grusha. As a downhill snowboarder, I had to choose a Pokemon who could join him in this hobby. So, I gave him Ice Cube. Penguins slide downhill, right? That's not just a cartoon thing. Like tiny tuxedoed torpedoes, penguins can slide down an icy hill at surprising speeds. While penguins love to take advantage of ice's gliding properties, polar bears have developed adaptations that keep slipping and sliding to a minimum. What does that mean? Are polar bears just sitting at the bottom of hills with their mouths open? Grusha already has a bear tick on his team. I don't know if Ice Cube would even be safe now. Sorry about that. Of course, people's Pokemon don't eat each other. That would be ridiculous. The point is, Ice Cube fits Grusha perfectly. And by giving it the Water Terra type, we can eliminate a bunch of its usual weaknesses. Plus, with Ice Cube having access to the powerful physical move Liquidation, it means that Grusha could utilize a belly drum strategy with this Pokemon. Due to Ice Cube's Ice Face ability, the first time it is hit by a physical move, it takes no damage, and transforms into its much speedier form. So, with the use of Belly Drum, the final Pokemon of the Gym Challenge could be a true threat, and possibly even sweep a whole team under the right circumstances. And that is how I would rework the use of Terastalization for the gym leaders. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other ideas, because that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join me again on the next one. But until then, I'll catch you later. Continuing to make these videos would not be possible without the help from our channel members, and especially our Mega Tier members. Thank you.